Hello, everybody. This is Breaking Ish, and today I am coming on briefly to talk to you about the Proud Boys Seditious Conspiracy trial. This was the longest seditious conspiracy trial of the three that stemmed from January 6th, and this is the third time that the DOJ has secured seditious conspiracy convictions. I don't know about the other. I looked at the guilty and not guilty things. I think there are a few charges for which they have not yet returned a verdict, but Enrique Tarrio is guilty of committing seditious conspiracy. Let's go back and say and remember that Elmer Stewart Rhodes of the Oath Keepers was also found guilty of seditious conspiracy. So, as it stands now, there's nearly a dozen henchmen level insurrectionists who have been held guilty, who have been convicted of seditious conspiracy, which I believe is the crime, the principal crime that Donald Trump committed against the United States. As I've mentioned in my previous episodes the um, about the insurrection charges and the January 6th report not making recommendation of seditious conspiracy, I believe that the crimes for which January 6th committee recommended prosecution to Jack Smith, those crimes all fit within the catch-all statute of 18 USC 2384. If read carefully, you will see that there are many options, many actions taken together that amount to seditious conspiracy, as shown in the statute. The statute for insurrection is narrow because it requires certain uh, elements of force. I believe that Donald Trump satisfies those as well. Uh, but I believe that the basic and the strongest charge against Donald Trump for what he did on January 6th is the charge of seditious conspiracy under 18 USC 2384. There can be other charges: conspiracy to defraud, 18 USC 371, incitement of insurrection, 18 USC 2383. I would even go to say that you can charge him for advocacy of overthrow of government, which is 18 USC 2385. There are numerous statutes that point to the actions of Donald Trump, but none of them have been so well established by the DOJ as the seditious conspiracy charge. Three seditious conspiracy trial in which every single defendant pointed blame at Donald Trump. Each one of them over and over stated that they had followed Donald Trump's orders. So that link may not be strong enough to say, hey, they are saying that you gave the order, but it definitely points in that direction. And we know that Jack Smith has compelled the testimony of Mike Pence. We know that Pat Cipollone and several other White House officials have already testified. We also know that Donald has taken an executive privilege case up through the courts, and last we heard it was in appellate court. It's hard to tell whether he lost the case or decided not to take it to SCOTUS because we don't know whether Mark Meadows has testified yet or not. But because Mike Pence has testified, it makes me think that either Mike Pence wasn't part of that executive privilege case or that Donald Trump waived executive privilege over Mike Pence. One of the two had to happen. Um, because there are executive privilege considerations between conversations of the president and the vice president. but not when the vice president is working in his congressional capacity, which is what Mike Pence argued in his speech or debate clause case, which he lost. So, he can't have it both ways. And this shows that he kind of took the way that lost and kind of helped Jack Smith with the investigation. So I understand that we have to be patient. It's very difficult to be patient in a situation where it's been nearly 2.5 years, and you still haven't seen the chief insurrectionist being held accountable. But justice works slowly, and justice is working every single day incrementally to reach that point. I still believe that Donald Trump will be held liable. I believe that he will be indicted for seditious conspiracy and incitement of insurrection. I believe that Jack Smith is being deliberative because he knows he only has one chance to get it right, because then it will be appealed and there needs to be no weak points. It needs to be ironclad on appeal so that appellate court and then ultimately the Supreme Court cannot overturn the conviction on some technicality or violation of one of the constitutional amendments, the fourth or the fifth or the sixth amendments, when it comes to uh, the defendant's rights. So I understand this delay. I am not happy about it. There are many people who understand this delay and are not happy about it. But it's important to note that three seditious conspiracy trial convictions, with defendants all pointing blame at Donald Trump, alongside with the January 6th committee's findings, the testimonies provided by Donald Trump's White House officials and Mike Pence, all of that put together, despite the fact that they have burned and buried and destroyed and flushed down God knows how many pieces of evidence, there is still plenty to show a jury beyond a reasonable doubt that Donald Trump engaged in insurrection and he committed seditious conspiracy. A lot of the connections between these extremist groups, Oath Keepers and the Proud Boys, came through connections of people like Alex Jones, Roger Stone, and others. The question remains on whether the DOJ can make the connections between the Oath Keepers and Proud Boys and Donald Trump. It may be plain for us to see that there is a link there and they're blaming Donald Trump for it, but it has to be proven in a court of law beyond a reasonable doubt. So I want people to understand that the deliberative process is not sufficiently provided when the January 6th report is held up as evidence. January 6th report is information, credible information provided by Congress. Jack Smith now has to take that information, get those subpoenas, get those testimonies, and turn it into evidence admissible in a court of law so that objections of hearsay and non-hearsay and not hearsay don't come up, and that the evidence has probative value to prove the truth of the matter being asserted in this case. That value is more than any prejudicial value, any judgment that information would pass on to Donald Trump. So that would be a question that will be raised when Donald Trump is indicted, of whether they can talk about the previous seditious conspiracy trials because they may be prejudicial. But in my argument, those are probative in Donald Trump's the impact Donald Trump's words had on these people. They are not going to the truth of the matter asserted that Donald Trump committed seditious conspiracy, but it is probative to going to prove the state of mind of the people who carried out an aspect of Donald Trump's seditious conspiracy. So there are many nuances, and I hope that people continue to remain engaged, as difficult as it may be. I notify and remind people every day, and I've been doing it since November 10th, 2020, with the exception of a few days here and there for personal um, mishaps and tragedies. And I commit that I will keep on informing you to the best of my ability about what happens. If you like what you hear from me, please like and subscribe and comment on my channel. And it really helps me greatly when you do that with the channel's algorithms and such. And now that the sun is about to hit my face, I'm going to log off. This was a short one. I wanted to celebrate. I wanted to tell you that we are on the right path. And I wanted to tell you that please be patient. And I'm trying to tell myself that as well every single day. So take care.